Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the YouTube citizens, this is your boy Dash True Inferno. And you're probably wondering, wait, what's this? A video on a Thursday? Yep, that's right. From this Thursday going forward, I'm gonna give y'all something different. I have been presenting to you, the YouTube citizens, a lot of gaming content, but not enough of the music outside of singles that will come out like, what, 6 times a year? So, yeah. We need to switch that up because this is a gaming and a music channel. So I will bring to you throwback tunes. Now what inspired me to make this weekly segment is I remember I was looking up an NWA song called Real Niggas and trying to see if that song was a part of an album. And it was NWA's second album, which was called Nigga for Life, which does not feature Ice Cube. That was actually a diss track towards Ice Cube. And then I found a video that was reviewing the album, and the review was horrible. Not because it said, oh, the album sucked, anything like that, but they didn't really talk about the song. They just said, oh, the album's dope, and then gave us a backstory behind the NWA group. I'm like, what about the album? What about the songs within the album? So then I saw the next review. It was about 50 Cent's album, Curtis. Again, he said the album was okay, but 50 could do better. It didn't give us a life story about 50 Cent. I'm like, what about the album? And I was like, man, I could give better reviews than that. And I'm like, oh, idea. So here we go with this. So let me give y'all the format for as how I would be reviewing these albums and mixtapes. First and foremost, you will not hear me play the tracks off of these albums and mixtapes because of the whole copyright infringement or, you know, getting strikes and claims and the possibility of my channel coming down because of it. So I'm not going to risk any of that. Instead, if you want to listen to this album, you can either download it. I mean, all these albums and mixtapes are everywhere, so they are easy to find. But if you don't want to download it, I will try my very best to supply you with websites that have the album, the entire album or mixtape on their site for you to listen to, or at least hear samples of it, whatever. So yeah, there you go with that. The second thing that will happen is I will only review albums and mixtapes that came out approximately 10 years ago or earlier, nothing sooner than that. So there you go with that. Also, I will talk about, you know, I will give you obviously the name of the album and who made the album, the record label and every company that was involved in the creation of the album, how well the album did as far as reviews and sales, the producers that was involved in it, my 3 to 5 best tracks off of each album. If the album consists of 15 tracks or less, then I will give you my top 3. If it's more than 15, like this one I'm going to review today, then I will give you my top 5. So yeah, and then, you know, other information like background, a little bit of background history about the album and so forth, and what I think about it based on a 5-star rating. So yeah, with that said, let's get straight into it. So the first album I'm going to review is Busta Rhymes' second studio album, When Disaster Strikes. Now this is the very first album I ever owned. So this was back in '98 when I first owned this album. I owned 2 others, but they were mostly singles, you know, those singles albums or whatever. So yeah, Busta Rhymes' When Disaster Strikes. Not only was it my very first album I ever owned, but in my opinion, it is one of the best hip-hop albums of all time. You know, I think it's on the level of Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, and so forth and whatnot. It is that good. But with that, let's get straight into it. So basically, this album was released by Elektra on September 16, 1997. This is the second album behind The Coming. So basically, just like The Coming, which was Busta Rhymes' debut album, When Disaster Strikes had that same theme about the whole apocalypse thing. Because remember, this is 1997, and a lot of people talk about what would happen once 2000 hit because of the whole Y2K scenario. I'm about to say Y2J. Shout out to Chris Jericho. So yeah, it had the theme of the whole end of the world fiasco once the year 2000 hit, and that actually carried over for his next 2 to 3 albums, I believe. The album was a huge commercial success. Came out with 3 singles. The first one, which is without question one of my all-time favorite songs, if not my all-time favorite song, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. That was the first single. The second single was Dangerous, another great track right there. And the third single was a track that wasn't on the album, and that one was called Turn It Up Remix / Fired Up. So, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See came out August 13, 1997, 5 days before my birthday. Dangerous came out November 18th, 1997 in the US. In the UK came out December 30th, 1997. And then, of course, the third single, Turn It Up Remix Fired Up, came out April 21st, 1998. Now, for those of you who haven't heard Turn It Up Remix Fired Up, think Knight Rider opening theme, and a lot of people sampled that. Remember Timbaland and Magoo? They sampled that joint with Clock Strike Remix. That came out in 98. Pajami MC came out with that track Beware. That also, he also did a second version of that with feature Jay-Z. That came out in 2001. So I'm not sure who else sampled that Knight Rider in, opening, but those three right there to me are the more famous ones. And unfortunately, like I said, his that Turn It Up remix is not on this album, so it's a single. You have to go out and get the single or just download it wherever. So with that out the way, let's get to how it did. So basically, it went platinum. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. As far as the ratings, All Music gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Billboard said it was favorable. Entertainment Weekly said it gave it a B. NME, I don't know what that stands for, gave it a 7 out of 10. Pitchfork Media gave it 8.2 out of 10. Rolling Stone gave it 3 out of 5. They must be smoking something. The Rolling Stone Album Guide, however, gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And The Source gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And it made the US Billboard 200, getting the highest number 3 as soon as it came out. And it was number 1 on the top R&B/hip hop albums, which were also done by Billboard as well. That was number 1 as well. That's the highest it got. So let's get straight into the tracks. So there's 19 tracks total. 2 of them are like an intro and an outro. So I guess I wouldn't say we'll ignore them because they got some pretty decent beats in both of them as well. But the album, like I said, is out cold. There's 5 tracks that really resonate with me, and obviously one of them is Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. However, I can't necessarily say that's the best track on the whole album. It's a tie between that and Rhyme Galore. Rhyme Galore is out cold. Oh my gosh, that track is out cold. To me, those are the top 2 tracks in the whole album. I can't tell or differentiate the 2 of them for which one number 1, which one number 2. So both of them are tied for first for me. The third best track on the whole album is We Could Take It Outside. That's another dope track. You need to check that one out. And then after that, number 4, number 5, I went with Things We Be Doing for Money Part 2 as number 4 and Get Off My Block as number 5. There are a number of other good tracks on here, like The Whole World Looking at Me, Things We Be Doing for Money Part 1, So Hardcore, There's Not a Problem My Squad Can't Fix. There's a lot of good tracks on here. There's some controversy with this album though, because when I first got this album, there was actually 18 tracks in my disc. So then when I was listening to it on YouTube, I just realized there was a new track. I'm like, wait a minute, and this track was called It's All Good. So I'm listening to it at the beginning, I'm like, damn, somebody getting a blowjob here. But once I get past that part, I'm like, yo, this beat is like chill. It's really nice. So, and I'm like, I do not recall that being on the album. So I had to go get my actual disc. I still got the disc. It still plays and everything. And I'm listening to the album and I'm like, why this track not on this album? So I looked this up and it was actually banned in the US. So the track It's All Good was banned in the US. So that's why it was not in my album. You would have to go and download it or whatever. And that's the only way you can listen. It's on YouTube. So it's not like, oh, it's a lost track. It's on YouTube. So you can easily find it. It's called It's All Good, the 9th track off of this whole album. So like I was saying, going down the list, we go past the intros and the outros. Whole World Looking for Me, again, a good track. Survivor Hungry, that's another good track. When Disaster Strikes, that's good as well, as is So Hardcore, as you know. Get High Tonight, the beat, not my cup of tea, but you know, the lyrics nice. The original turned to I prefer the remix because the beat was out cold and it's hype. Whereas the original, it was like, And then, of course, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See, obviously the classic. And then It's All Good again. So, you know, it was a good track, you know, right there. And then, of course, There's Not a Problem My Squad Can Fix, another good track. And then track number 11 or 10, whichever, it depends. We Can Take It Outside, which features the entire Flipmode squad. And oh yeah, There's Not a Problem My Squad Can Fix, featuring some guy named Jamal. And then of course Rhymes Galore. And then of course Things We've Been Doing for Money Part 1, followed by Part 2. Part 2 featuring Rampage, Anthony Hamilton, and The Chosen Generation. And then the next track is One, which featured Erykah Badu. So yeah, she's even on this album. The next track is Dangerous, followed by The Body Rap, which is also pretty good. That one featured Rampage, Puff Daddy, like he was called Puff Daddy back then before he changed to P Diddy and then Diddy or whatever. And Mace, you remember Mace? And then of course track number 18 is Good Off My Block, which featured Laura Halfman. Yes, that was his name. And then of course there was the outro track. Now the producers that helped made this was obviously Busta Rhymes. He was a co-executive producer along with Rick Posada. You got DJ Scratch, Rashad Smith, Shamelo, and Buddha, the Uma, Rockweiler, Easy Mo B, obviously Puff Daddy, Adolf, Rudy Ray Moore, even I said Busta Rhymes already, Epitome, Latif, M. Bowden, I said Rashad Smith. Oh, Adolf Agala, that's his whole name. Adolf Agala, Clarence Dorsey, and that's basically it for the production of this album. It was made under Flip Mode Records and Electro Records, and the whole album is like 72 minutes and 56 seconds long. And that's basically it about the album. So what do I think about this album? Like I said, to me it's one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time because this is Busta Rhymes' best album he ever came out with. Better Than The Coming and everything that came out afterwards. Some people say after this one he kind of fell off, but not really. His next 3 albums were good. Obviously not better than this, but they were still good nevertheless. As far as When Disaster Strike, I'm giving it 5 stars. Again, it had banging tracks like Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. It will always be a personal favorite of mine. Rhymes Galore, every time I hear that, I just lose my mind and just go off with the lyrics. We Can Take It Outside again, another good track. The beat is dope, featuring the entire Flip Mode squad and Rod Digger beats right there. And then of course the other tracks, Things We've Been Doing for Money Part 2, Part 1, Get On My Block. Dangerous was another good one. The Whole World Look At Me, So Hardcore, that was a good one as well. And Now The Problem My Squad Can Fix. I mean, there's a lot of good tracks on this album, and the lyricism's dope. So yeah, that's basically my review for this album. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to review next week, but yeah, stay tuned. Y'all know who this is. This is Jane Ryder II saying peace out, y'all, and see y'all next time. Yeah.